Hi, I'm the SOLIDWORKS nerd, and today we're going to go over 12.5 tips to pass the new Certified SOLIDWORKS Professional Exam. That's right, after 20 years, the CSWP has been updated. And with that, there's been a couple of questions floating around. Is it harder? What changed? What stayed the same? And most importantly, what tips can I have to help me pass this exam? We'll go over all of this in this video. So the first time I took this exam was back in 2015, and I passed it pretty comfortably back then. And I took it 3 weeks ago where I passed it 100%. So I'm pretty confident that these tips that I've gathered helped me and therefore should help you as well. So the exam is still 3 segments, has the same topics, and still adds up to about 3 hours and 30 minutes when added all together. So that's all stayed the same. Although I think there's a slightly heavier emphasis on part modification on section 2. So the new exam is much better in my opinion. The exam is more representative of the workflows that happen in an engineering workplace. As for the difficulty, in my opinion it did get a little bit more difficult, but nothing that you can't handle, especially with these tips. And definitely it's not hard enough that a CSWP can't pass. So let's get into those tips and we'll get you on your way. For number 1, read each question, then read each question, and then read each question. The most important thing is that you understand the question, what it's asking for, and what process it wants you to take, if that's specified. It will also let you know the material of the parts and the units and other fun stuff like that. So don't skimp on the reading. Skipping even one line could mean that you miss an important clue that helps you solve the modeling challenge. For the second tip, be very careful that you've typed the answer correctly when you're done, and that the quantity that you give as an answer is actually the quantity that they're looking for, as well as it being measured from the correct references. I know this ties into number 1 pretty much, but it's really that important. For number 3, don't assume anything that is not explicitly stated in the prompts. Don't assume that the scale is correct in the picture, so don't try and get sneaky with sketch picture, for example. An example of this would be if you're creating an assembly and you find that some components are interfering. So it's easy to assume that you've done something wrong, but don't assume in that case that interferences are strictly disallowed. Just follow the prompts, what direction it gives you, and the answer will fall out. So that also goes for sketch geometry or sketching in general. So let's begin a new sketch here. Sketch on the front plane, for example. So let's get a circle right there. And let's suppose that we have a line out here. It's got some height. And, all right, maybe that goes straight there. And in the prompt, they'll draw a line like that, and they'll point to where this contacts here, and it'll have the little tangent symbol. So that explicitly means you need to add a tangent relation there. So don't be tricky and try and assume that, oh, if you drag it onto one of those quadrant points that's correct. As you'll know that if you have this as a slope, the tangent point's going to be a little bit out to the right. So you're actually messing yourself up a little bit by adding this extra relation. So if it asks for a tangent relation, give it that tangent relation, just like that. So number 3, don't assume anything. All right, so for number 4, and this one is really important, don't be afraid to spend a lot of time developing a robust parametric model for the first question. At first, it's going to seem like you're spending a disproportionate amount of time on that first question, but this is normal. Since the first segment of the exam is all about modifying the components you have created, the subsequent questions will come pretty quickly, provided that you've created your part correctly. So, for example, when I took it, I spent 30 out of 90 minutes on the very first question, but still finished with plenty of time to spare. Keep in mind, this does not mean you must spend 30 minutes before you move on, just that it's good to invest time into that first part. For number 5, and I stressed this in my CSWA video, don't move on from a multiple choice answer unless your answer matches exactly. The multiple choice questions on the CSWP are your canaries in a coal mine, pretty much. If they don't match up, something is wrong. I know firsthand how tempting it is to move on just because your answer is so close. It happened to me. When I first finished modeling my first question, my mass was about 3 grams too heavy when compared to one of the answers. I made some changes, found a mistake, and now it was 5 grams too light. So at this point, I just kind of wanted to move on. But, me keeping with my discipline, this really paid off for me. I kept looking and I found my last mistake. And then my mass was practically an exact match. Less than 1/100th of a gram of difference. So some of you may be wondering, well, how did I find those mistakes in my first part? Well, this is a good lead into tip number 6, and that is to use your measuring tool to pull out mistakes. So when faced with that situation that I had last time, what do? Well, pull out your trusty measuring tool, which is found in the Evaluate tab. Start poking around different surfaces. Make sure that, for example, your fillets come out to be the correct size. Make sure that thicknesses are what you think they are. And another technique that I use for mistake finding is tip number 7. Type the dimensions as they appear on the drawings. This makes it way easier to cross-check. So, for example, if an arc dimension displays as a radius, you can have yours display as a radius too. And I'll show you that right now. So let me go back to my other sketch here. So as you can see, when I throw down my dimension, since it's a full circle, it gives me the diameter dimension. Well, you can change this to display as a radius. So right click, display as radius. And this helps you cross-check between the drawing that you're given and your model. So you can quickly scan it. Yep, those numbers are the same. So I know it's simple math, but these exams can do some pretty weird stuff to your brain, and it's best to leave the simple math to SOLIDWORKS. Alright, so let's move on to the next tip, tip number 8. So use any speed techniques necessary. This includes keyboard shortcuts. There's my filters, mouse gestures. You see if I right click and drag, I have my mouse gestures set up. Using the shortcut bar, by default by pressing the S key, makes things a lot faster. The important thing here is don't go into the exam with a very fresh setup made just the day before, because that's just going to slow you down as you try and find out where everything is, pretty much. If you can't find a command, don't spend time looking for it. SOLIDWORKS has a search function built in, so that's up here on the top right. So usually it's set to SOLIDWORKS help, but if you hit this little drop down next to the magnifying glass, you can switch it to commands. And then you can type in the name of a command and have it instantly show up. Use this. So the nice thing is, if you press the S key, you see it highlights. You can actually start typing into that without having to mouse all the way over to that. So that's another quick tip. So S, and then you can type in some command. So this next technique is kind of like a half tip because it all rolls in with the speed techniques, but you can use direct editing to your advantage when on these exams. It's one of these tabs here. So you right click, direct editing's right here, and you'll get these tabs. So these are tools that are used to modify imported geometry that have no feature history. So one of the most powerful commands here is delete face, and I'll make an entire video about this, but I'll show you some of its power right here. So I'll launch the delete face command, and there's this mode, this option for delete and patch, and I'll show you what it does. So let's zoom into this hole, and let's say I don't want this hole. So if I delete this face here, what will happen is that you'll be left with a vacancy, and with the delete and patch, SOLIDWORKS will try and fill it up. So what does it fill it up with, that, you ask? With surrounding surfaces. So basically it'll take out that inner cylinder in there and then patch it up with all this flat part next to it. So the result is that it erases the hole. And this is insanely powerful. Another thing you can do is you can erase fillets with it. I'll show you that here. Delete face. You can select the faces of the fillet, hit OK. There, like it never even happened. And this happens so fast too. And it can especially help with questions where it's being tricky with your relations and your dependencies. So let's say that I modeled this part, which is the Model Mania part, by the way, from 2017, I believe. So you can see that there's a couple of circular patterns here. So let's say that I modeled this whole thing, and then one of the changes it wants me to do is to remove this top pocket and leave this bottom one. Well, I can't really delete it or suppress it because if you see, first of all, it causes errors, but it also takes the other pockets with it. So let's see what delete face has to offer us. So if I go delete face, right click, select tangency, which selects all these faces here, hit OK. Boom, done. So as you can see, this is pretty powerful tool, but I will tell you about one caveat, and this is why I don't recommend that you use this in the workplace, in a production environment. It can make your part difficult and confusing to pick up by other people who don't know anything about surfacing or what the direct editing tools are. So when making changes in the workplace environment, I would go, edit the history. But in a speed setting, delete face is pretty good. So for number 9, save the part after every question. So doing this has two main benefits. So if for some reason you need to reach out to the SOLIDWORKS certification team with a question regarding your exam, they're going to want to see the model as it looked at that particular question. So if you save after every question, you'll have that readily available for them. Another thing is that if you fail the exam, hopefully not after this video, but if you do, you can review your old models and maybe pull out some mistakes and see what you did wrong. But another thing that it does is basically what I'll talk about in my next tip. So tip number 10, use reload. So what is reload? So reload is basically a very fast way of closing and opening the part without saving. So as you can see with my poor Model Mania part, I've wreaked havoc on it with this delete face command. And let's say that I do that by accident, or I make some change that is so subtle that I didn't really know that I did. So maybe I took that shell by accident and expanded it out, even more errors. And you just kind of want to go back to the part as you saved it from the last question. Go to File, Reload, make sure that's checked, hit OK, and boom, you're back to your last checkpoint. So that's also very powerful functionality, and but it's only contingent on you saving those parts. So if you're not saving those parts, it'll send you back to the last time you saved, which can be pretty far back if you're not diligent about it. So use it with caution, but it's a pretty powerful technique as well. So for tip number 11, and this will be news to some of you, if you don't know how to use a particular feature, just Google it. I'm serious, there's actually nothing that says you can't do a little bit of research during the exams, either from the internet or from training manuals. Keep in mind that if you're underprepared, no amount of Google searching will save you. The exam is timed, so if you have to look up every single feature, you're not going to finish. And also, this tip only works well for very low-level specific questions, like how to use a coordinate system rather than how do I use multibodies. I could make an entire series on multibodies. It's just too broad. Finally, my last tip is that if you feel like you have to hack the question to accomplish a task, you're probably doing something wrong. So for example, if you tried to add a mate during the assembly portion and it fails to add, it's very tempting to think, maybe the exam is wrong? I can make it work if I relax this arbitrary constraint. Don't do it. It's a trap. Don't read the question again and check your work. They have checked and proved that these exams are completely correct, and hundreds of people are passing every day, including myself, who has passed this 100%. Trust the exam, and if you find the roadblock, check your work. So that's pretty much my tips for passing the new CSWP. I hope you enjoyed, and of course, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.